Hi and welcome to my channel, me Gammelizard. For the upgrade and reorganization of my workshop, I have to change the lighting above my workbench. Currently I use these video lights. These are a pain in two ways. First, these are difficult to mount if you are not using a proper stand. Second, the power consumption. So I want a proper mounting and I want to save energy, and that means saving money. So I decided to use some LED strips. I tried some 5-volt LED strip which I have in my shelf, but to use as workbench work light, these are very dim and yellowish. And because of that I bought a 5 meter 12-volt LED strip which should be much brighter, and as you can see the 12-volt strip is significantly brighter and has a white cold light. Then there is the LED driver. It's a 240 volt to 12 volt converter. The most power converters for LED lights are switching the LEDs off on the low voltage side, which means that there's always power consumption. I don't want that, because even very low power usage costs money and it's zooming up over time. That's because I want to switch off the 240 volt side. For that I need a proper switch. In this case I use a simple light switch, a leftover of my house renovation. Here I have some cable ducts, leftovers from another project. These are really good to use as holders or housing for the LED strips. The good thing is that these cable ducts are stiff and lightweight. And as a Swabian, we are the Scots among the Germans, free stuff is always good for the wallet and for the Swabian soul. Because I want to attach the lights on the top of the Honeycomb wall, I have to design some holders. I made a test print a while ago, just to find out if it works or not, and if I can use the cable ducts. The test print fits into the cable duct, so that means I can use this as a base for the holder. So I started to design a prototype of a holder in Blender, and I don't want to bore you with the Blender design because it's forward, backwards and so on, and trying to get a good design. And then I extracted the part of the holder just to see if it fits, and I will do that in this project from time to time. So I first do a test print and make sure, in this case the outer hull is fitting accurately. And after designing and printing this holder, which fits now perfectly, I realized that I'm still in the PLA is weak mode, and PETG would be that as well. And that's because I thought, yeah, I have to overdo that. And this is the first iteration of the holder, and I will do it better. So after looking at this chunk and redesigning it, I came up with a second iteration, and I think it's okay. I considered to use banana plugs, but after printing some covers and fittings for the plugs, I realized these plugs are just too big, and I throw this idea into the bin. I switched to these standard coaxial power connectors which you can find all over the place. To correct some mistakes and errors and flaws and save a little bit more material, I printed the third holder. The third iteration has a few adjustments, and this is now the final iteration of that version. Let's say it like that. Maybe I come up in the future with something else, but for now I take this. To make the lights look better, I want to have an end cap, and here we have the end cap and the prototype of clamp. The usage of the clamp is I want to bring this into the cable duct to hold up or to help to hold up the LED strip, because I do not trust the adhesive on the LED strip. And maybe I have to adjust these. Now they are very small, and yeah, I have to redesign these or make it a little bit bigger. But this is really not a thing. They are really printing really fast, and maybe I design them so that I can screw them in some way. We will see. So the so-called structural work is done. Now the question is, what should I do with the switch and the LED driver? And I came up with this. It looks complicated, but it isn't. I will explain it to you. To design something like that, my workflow goes always from function to design. To understand what's necessary and how the switch works, disassembling helps a lot to see which components are needed and which can be relieved of duty. In this case, the plastic cover and the frame can go. To keep the functionality of the switch, I had to rebuild the interlocking mechanism of the cover. Then I printed it out and tested it on the switch. My biggest concern was stability, but PETG seems to be the right choice of material. The next task was that the switch has something to sit on, so I created a frame which gives me the possibility to implement some threaded inserts to screw the switch in place. But just a frame straight down does not work because there are clamps on the switch which I cannot disassemble without losing the stability of the complete switch mechanism. Then there is the box, where everything got installed on. The part where the switch is going to has small holders where the frame going sit on. On the bottom part there is a hole to put the power cord in. I created there two small holders to secure the power cord with some cable ties. The LED driver goes into the second part of the box. On the top of the box there's an outlet to bring the 12-volt power to the LEDs. To close that box, I created some lids, and for decoration I printed some greebles I have created for other projects, just to give the whole thing a little bit more the Star Wars touch. On the side of the box I have added a part with holes to mount the box on the wall. As you may see, the whole print is in an appealing orange. I like that color, but not on the switch box, because it isn't really very Star Wars-like. Before I can install everything and paint it and so on, there's a bit of work to do. First, I have to do a little bit of sanding. Then prime the whole thing. After priming, there's a paint job to do. I painted miniatures and dioramas, but never an object which has some real-world function. So please forgive me if I'm struggling here and there, but what counts at the end is the result. After sanding, there is the priming. Adding a primer is always a really good feeling because suddenly all is coming together and it looks more like a real thing. The box is now primed and ready to get filled, but first I have to melt in the threaded inserts. I made a boo-boo. All inserts are now set. While doing that, I realized I mismeasured 2 holes for the threaded inserts on the switch frame. But I think in this case a droplet of glue will do it. If not, I can drill a hole for the inserts and put some inserts in there. So now it's time to connect everything. To connect the switch with the power cord and the switch with the LED driver. My second boo-boo. To hold the switch in place. Now I have to glue the frame in because I forgot that I wanted to make all a little bit modular and screwable. Means I can put it together and I can take it apart. But yeah, this time, yeah, it is like it is. I have to glue it. I will consider that as a design, let's say, flaw, and I will, yeah, do it better next time. The moment when everything is primed and assembled is always a good moment. It all comes together. Now it's time for my new self-made wet palette. How I made that palette you can see in my video about the wet palette. Just click the link above. To moisten the kitchen paper I add just a little bit of water and then reassemble the wet palette. I want to achieve a matte metal look. I start with a light grayish color by mixing white, gray and some metallic gunmetal color I had laying around. To achieve that look, I tried to dab with kitchen paper with a little bit of color with a little bit of darker color, that flaky metal look, and with a sponge I dabbed some rust color on the box. I want the switch to look very hard used, so it's a very heavy usage on this switch. So I painted it in a dark red and removed the color where the switch is mostly used. Because I'm lazy, I did not implement real lights above the switch. For that I had to use a microcontroller and so on, or some lights and then transparent material and so on. And I used a replacement, let's say it like that. I just painted a red and a white fake light onto the box. Now to the greebles. Interesting, but useless. The function of these greebles is just up to your fantasy. And to make the whole thing a little bit more used, I added some scratches, some flaking off of the color on the edges so that it looks more used. It is time to work on the lights. At first I have to cut off the connector from the LED strip and cut it into about 25 centimeter lengths. Removing the transparent silicone cover is essential because you cannot soldering on silicone. You have to be on the raw contacts, on the raw copper contacts. To make it easier to solder, it's always a good idea to make it makes your life easier. Soldering wires on LED strip. If you pre-solder it, that means you put your soldering material on that contact and then you put the wires on. And it goes much faster, so you are not destroying the LED strips or melting it. After soldering the wires, I can now add the cable ducts to the holder. To test my first light, I have to quick assemble a test setup, some Vago clamps and some hope. I connected everything together to make a first test. And yeah, what can I say? It works. After removing the cover of the gluey side of the LED strips, I'm now ready to glue it in and just have my first lamp. And it works and it looks good. To give myself a little bit of a reward, I screwed the switch box on the wall just to have first look And oh boy, I think there will be a room makeover coming up. Enough of dreaming, back to work. I quickly glue the bushings into the holder to move forward. Now to a bit of assembly line work. Cutting the LED strip to size, soldering the wires, attaching the cable ducts, and stick the LED strip into the cable duct. While you're watching, here are a few words about my channel and what else I do. Perhaps you have already watched a few videos on my channel and have seen that I have a wide range of interests. In the future I will try to focus the channel a little bit more. Of course, I won't be able to avoid that there will be one or two videos outside my regular topics. Which ones I really don't know yet. But I want to make subscribing worthwhile. So I want to keep the channel interesting for you. I'll also try to post interesting content on my Patreon page in the future, like additional videos and downloads. And perhaps this channel will be eventually be monetized. If this happens, I'd like to set up a member area where you can find some extra treats. One of the main goals of this channel will be to showcase the 3D models I have and I will be creating, which I plan to present as Kickstarter projects. And as I mentioned in a previous video, that's almost over 1,000 models, I would say. And that means we have a lot of work in front of us and a lot of videos. And finally, it's time to get some light. As I said before, it works. With that in mind, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I would love to hear your comments. See you in the next video. Have a beautiful and nice day.